Flawless victory.
Little something for the ladies. Now, I'm also available on alternative social media on MeWe, James Desborough, all one word, on Minds, Grimachu. I'm no longer on Gab. I've deleted my account because it's even more exhausting than Twitter. Oi. Hello, lovelies. Hope you're having a fine new year already, though we're not much into it, obviously. Before I really go into anything else, the wildfires in Australia are crazy, and there's an awful lot of apathy around about it, which is concerning. It's just something happening on the news on the other side of the world. People aren't really taking in the full implications and issues with it, and we can argue about whether controlled burns or allowing small wildfires to go, year in, year out. Yeah, that's a problem wherever these are occurring all over the world, that we don't allow that to go on. But the fact is, right now and right at the moment, a lot of wildlife is dying. A lot of species are being pushed that much closer to extinction. A huge amount of smoke is pouring into the sky. A load of people are being burnt out of their homes and so on. And one thing I'm trying to do this year is to be a bit more proactive about helping. So I've donated $50 Australian to the Australian Red Cross. They're giving out grants and assistance to people who've been burned out of their homes. And I've also given $50 Australian dollars to one of the wildlife sanctuaries in the worst hit areas, so that they can humanely put some of these animals to sleep, and so that they can rescue others and provide care and aid for other animals that have been hurt. They've raised a shit ton of money, but they're going to need more, and the Australian Red Cross is really at the forefront of helping get people back on their feet in the wake of losing everything. So please join me in giving some money to these causes. I'll add links below, and to the volunteer firefighters as well. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about to kick off the new year. New Year's resolutions are a terrible idea because we never keep up with them, especially if we make lots of changes all at the same time. But the latter half of last year, I've been thinking about these things and making gradual changes in the way that I do stuff. And I want that to carry on into this new year, and it's as good a time as any to make those kind of affirmations to myself that I'm going to do these things. Politics is a big, steaming, burning dumpster rolling downhill towards an orphanage at the moment, and I think, like a lot of people, I feel incredibly disheartened and alienated and contemptuous of the people stupid enough to get us into this situation. It doesn't really help anything, but in my experience since, I guess, about 2010, 2012 or so, I've given it the good old college try to convince people and argue the toss and so on, and have been unsuccessful. And as Kosh says, the avalanche has already started. It's too late for the pebbles to vote. That's the trouble. When big populist nonsensical movements get going, you don't exactly get swept along, but you get caught up in the avalanche and pushed over. And there's very little we can do as individuals to change that, or at least it seems that there's very little we can do as individuals to change that. But I don't think that should mean that we shouldn't try, and when government is failing and when it has been seized by uncharitable, undemocratic, vindictive forces, I think it falls upon our shoulders to do something about it. Now, pragmatically, I'm a socialist, which means that I think a lot of these things should really be the purview of government to handle, but it's not going to be. We tried philanthropy, and you can read Dickens to see how well that went. Sometimes it's just better to club together, to work together, as a nation through the state to get things done. It's more efficient, there's an economy of scale and so on. And philanthropy and charity is meant to fill in the gaps, if at all, or to make people feel good about themselves, or to get them tax breaks, or whatever. But increasingly, people are going to be relying on charity, relying on help. Even when the state is there, there's often bureaucratic traps and so on that cause problems. So, given that the state is failing us and is going to fail us, and however much I think that we should be voting in parties and so on that are going to use the power of the state responsibly to look after people, to elevate us all to a certain basic standard of living and to adapt to and make positive changes for the future, to tackle the big problems like climate change and so on, at least in the UK and the US for the foreseeable, at least 4 years in the US, at least probably 10 years here in the UK, that's just not going to be the case. And things are going to be going backwards. So all that's left is for us to do positive things as individuals. That's the essence of anarchism, really. It's voluntarism, individual action, and eventually it will aggregate as a whole and may make some sort of genuine positive difference. So that's where I'm at. I would prefer it if the state was used for good and did these things, but it's not going to, at least while it's in the sway of far-right populists. So it's down to us as individuals, as autonomous agents, to do the right thing, to be good people, to make good things happen. So that's what I'm going to do. I've worked out how many trees I need to plant to offset my carbon from my entire life, and I'm going to start doing that. And I'm going to try and make better use of the garden to grow some produce and so on, though I don't have a gardening bone in my body. If I could afford one of those robot farms, that's what I'd be doing. I think that's where the future is. I'm going to look into the possibility of solar or a small household wind turbine and see if I can save some money towards that. I'm going to do more charity work, more helping people, either on a one-to-one personal basis or through organisations like what's going on in Australia. And I'm going to try and be more upfront and open about it because I want to encourage other people to do it. So that's where I am, I guess. On a personal basis, I think maybe leading by example is the one path left that might convince people to change their behaviour and their attitudes and the things that they believe and so on. And so that's where I'm going to concentrate my efforts. I'm going to fail. Everybody fails at avoiding arguments and so on. But I'm going to try and just say my piece and move on this year. I'm going to be concentrating on more achievable goals and stop over-promising and take better care of myself, even though it feels horrendously selfish. Like people keep saying, you can't take care of anyone else if you can't take care of yourself. But the outpouring of help I had last year to look after my cat and to help me raise money for Jamie's wheelchair has made me think that maybe this is a path that can stave me off from absolute nihilism, at least. So anyway, I've kicked off the year by donating some money towards relief of the Australian fires, and I do hope you'll join me in that. Zang.
Aren't you a little tired of so-called horror media about shiny, sparkly, angsty, whiny monsters? I know I am, and that's why I created Actual Fucking Monsters, where you will play an actual fucking monster doing horrible and monstrous things and being tracked down and killed for it. Buy now at DriveThruRPG, post-mort.com or lulu.com.